All right. Is this thing on? It's a lightweight alternative to Hotwire. I don't know. Hey, Aaron. Hey, AJ. Abdullahi? Is that how you pronounce that? Hey. Sir Gixel? Sir Gixel? Hello. How's it going? How is it going? I think I popped out chat in the past, and like I did realize that I have a lot of streamer upgrades to make, but whenever I go to make them, I just get like distracted. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Hey, Adrian in the house. Nick, how is it all going? So I think this is probably the streamer thing to do. The real streamer thing to do is to have the chat like overlaid or something, or somewhere on the page. Because if I hide the chat on the other monitor, you're just staring at nothing. I don't even have my face showing. So that's not super cool, but at least the object of my communication right now, which is this chat window. How long have I been programming? Funny. This might be the first time anyone's asked a personal kind of question. Adrian, are you saying F Daniel? Oh, dude, is Daniel freaking streaming right now? Oh, he is, isn't he? I'm a jerk. Sorry, Daniel. I'm out of town tomorrow, which is when I normally stream, and then next week I'm out of town, so I was like, I got to get in something. But yeah, how long have I been programming? I wrote my first program in Python in 6th grade. It was a great time. 7th grade. It was a great time. And I programmed on those calculators that I bet some of you did as well. 5 minutes ago on Twitch. Oh, I hope he does not find out that we're hanging out. This is forbidden, the forbidden fruit. Give me a software named Ecamm. All the stream elements are hidden from the spectators. Yeah, I can do that like this, but then you're just staring at a GitHub page while I'm responding to you in the chat, even though you see the chat, but maybe it's helpful to see what I see, or it's at least something going on the screen that's not nothing. Livewire is great. That's right. Livewire is a lightweight alternative to REST APIs. Honestly, that's the freaking best pitch. Jason Beggs in the house, the man himself. I'm tempted to type back hey, Jason. You love Livewire. That's cool. I like that you like Livewire. Aaron Francis is now saying hey to Jason as well. We have multiple people saying hi to Jason now. Jason just posted that emoji and then turned off his computer probably. He's definitely not even. Oh, he's still here. AA run. Have you ever heard that, Aaron Francis? Anybody ever said that to you? Probably not. So yeah, we're hanging out here, and let's start out. You don't want to jump right into the work. So what do we start out by talking about? We need this is the part where we just banter. By we, I mean me and nobody. Love the latest Livewire stuff. Now to upgrade all my projects. Yeah. Have you guys used the upgrade command that Philo made? He had the ambition, and I was like, just go for it. You can merge whatever you want. This will be your little playground. I haven't touched it at all. I don't even consider it I have ownership over it. It's definitely his thing, which is great for me. Thank you, Philo. But anyway, so many people have been saying all I did was run the command and that's it. That's the whole upgrade is that command, which is so cool. Oh, yeah, Livewire is so much better than event sourcing. This is why. Event sourcing, okay, Daniel's not listening. He's doing his own stream, so it's okay if we just take a quick dump on him. Event sourcing has the worst name ever. It's the least sexy name in the world. Livewire, it sounds interesting. Event sourcing sounds like not something interesting, although it is very interesting, but does not sound interesting. Still on V2, Adrian, what? That's crazy. Crazy man. How long did it take to develop Livewire? I mean, the first version took me a night or two, but then it's taken me about 4 years. Yeah. Give it a try again And hopefully maybe you can find some stuff and to add to the upgrade command that would make it easier in the future or something, or to add to upgrade guide. Daniel is a streamer on YouTuber. Daniel Colborn is streaming on Twitch right now. Daniel Colborn is a coworker of mine, even though we don't work together. It has way too many names. That's very true, Jason Beggs. What are all these words they keep saying? I have no idea. And I'm like not smart enough for event sourcing, and it just seems like a whole layer to add. So I keep like pushing Daniel, like, Daniel, this thing you're making, it better be easy, man. Like, I just need something that like I can add to an eloquent model, and now I'm using event sourcing. You know, that's what I need. And don't even say the word event sourcing. You know how Apple, like, they don't say AI? I think they're still doing that, right? They did the whole like virtual goggle thing, whatever that's called, Vision Pro, and didn't use the word AI in the entire stream. And I was like, oh my gosh, like they definitely had many meetings about that. And now they just don't say the word AI. Daniel should similarly never say event sourcing and just say like something sexier. Working on migrating V3. My app was not V3 ready. Yeah, the more you use the internal APIs, the worse your life is going to be. If your app's like simple enough where you're using all the like wire colon stuff and that's kind of it, like your life should be easier. But, you know, I'm sorry. Let's go live from STL. What is STL? Help me out with that. Vue developer finding out what Livewire is about. It's basically, if you're from Vue, if you look at Alpine.js, you'll find that it is, you'll find that it's basically Vue.js, just inline. You got your @click, your data. That's isn't Vue, but kind of same thing. X show instead of V show and whatever. So you might start with Alpine and then work your way into Livewire, or just skip Alpine and use Livewire. But they're both kind of inspired by Vue's syntax. But yeah, if you're from Vue, I don't know. That's a whole other stream we should do sometime. Home microfinance app to V3 and Volt. Sweat. Yeah. Error migrating tool about missing DS store. What? Really? A DS store PHP file? I'm not even sure that I've ever heard of that. But, you know, DS store is like that file that Mac adds, just like a hidden file to all folders. So something's weird there, and it might be on our end. I don't know. Oh, yeah, Boss Man Chris is hosting. Okay, yeah, hi there. Aaron, are you making your next video about... Is Aaron still here? Aaron Francis? Are you making your next video about Livewire SPA? Oh, you better be, dude. Actually, Aaron, can we pitch Aaron while he's here? Aaron, say hi if you're here. I want to pitch you on something. We can just get him back in here. Let's, we're going to do that. We're going to flex Aaron Francis. Yeah, that's the move. You know, you're like the bounce in, bounce out, you know, make your appearance. He just made an appearance. That flat-footed, no good, dirty I hope he's not actually flat-footed. One of those things is very intimidating, but ends up being super simple. Yeah. And is one of those words that gets used for very complex things and very simple things. And you have no idea. Oh, St. Louis, Missouri. Nice. Yeah, I'm thinking Adrian's app's stuck on V2 for life. That's for sure. Livewire projects are quite complex, so it's not easy to upgrade either, but excited to get it done and try out new performance improvements. Yeah. Give him a break. He has a screencasting course to launch. Jason, do not come to his defense. Would he come to your defense, Jason? Absolutely not. He's not listening to me, Jason. You need to message him and tell him to come back. All right. Well, Aaron is coming back. And he needs to. I need to get... Can I have two... All right. I'm going to move this chat back over here and we'll start actually like toying with stuff. Yeah. Okay. So let's toy with a thing. There's two things I want to address. One is boring. One is more fun. Let's start with the more fun one and then do a more boring one. Jason, stop getting rich, dude. He is busy making twins. Multiple twins. Also trying to get you to buy the course so your setup gets better. Dude, you think this setup is not amazing? I am offended. I spent so much time trying to make it awesome, and like I'm not using any of it because Mac, dude. Well, Aaron, thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up here, bud. Yeah, that's right. Aaron's just goofing off on the internet. I just want to like totally, rip into Aaron about things that he doesn't deserve to be ripped into because it just seems fun right now. But we're gonna be better than that. So this is my pitch to you, Aaron. Yeah, I know, bud. My pitch to you is this is what you should do. This is your next viral video. People like PHP content, right? They like your Livewire content. So this is what you do. This is your Livewire V3 video. Don't even mention Livewire V3. This is for non-Livewire people, non-Laravel people even. Maybe it's for Laravel people. You do this. You create some Laravel app. I don't know if you start out with a created app or not, but you... let's get this window here going. You go like composer require livewire/livewire. So maybe you take an existing Laravel app that's a bunch of pages, something Laravel news style, wink. Something Laravel news style that's like bloggy or whatever, has a bunch of pages in Laravel, and you just do like composer require livewire, and then you just add wire navigate to all the links, and then that's it. And then you just show it's like the shortest video ever, but it's the most catchy thing. I would make it if I actually like did the screencasting I'm supposed to do. And then you just be like, oh, check this out. Everything's super instant, prefetching out of the box, like, scroll preservation, whatever. And then you could make like one part of the nav sticky, between pages with something open and closed, but for real, like, and then you blab about like that. You dramatize it. You drum it up. I'm going to tell you how to do your job. You drum it up and, with words that everybody else is like, okay, SSR out of the box. Like we haven't, you're like, we have an SPA with no need for SSR at all. This is perfectly SEO friendly. You pop up Lighthouse and you show like 100 score because everything just loads. You show all the JavaScript assets on the whole freaking site are like 35 kilobytes for everything. So you're like 35 kilobytes of JavaScript instantly loads. Lighthouse 100, SEO super friendly, SPA super fast, indistinguishable from JavaScript, all because we ran one command and added find and replace a wire : navigate or something. And that's it. And literally the joke is that like nobody ever has to even use Livewire at all to use wire navigate. 0 Livewire components in your application can exist and you can use wire navigate. It's literally could be a completely separate tool, So that's it. And then you just, build time. You'd be like, those are the things you sell. This is the like, PHP is sweet and JavaScript sucks. But and you just list them and it's like no build at all, build free completely, and no compiling, no SSR, simple servers, simple PHP, babinga, boomba. So there you go, Aaron. That's all we needed you back for. But I really think that you could find a way to Aaronify it and make it like you did that. I don't know, just like you do. Where it's not like Livewire introducing Livewire 3's wire navigate. It's like PHP just killed your SPA, or like SPA for free, or PHP is good and JavaScript is bad. Those are some of my ideas. They're free. You can have them. Okay, pitch over. Catching up on chat. Yeah, don't make it. It's mine now. I claim it. It is yours now. That's mine now. I'm going to take it. And we're going to let that sit there. You know why I'm laughing. Mark, welcome to the chat. Welcome. Could be a YouTube short. Yeah, exactly. It could be like the shortest thing in the world. It should be something super short. He hyped a trailing comma. Yeah. So there you go, Aaron. What's the best app to start with? Laravel News. Can you do that? But literally just, I don't know. I mean, you could make your own version of some app, or you could like convince, this is what you should do. Oh, look at that. Oh, thanks guys. Thanks. You should message whoever is at Laravel News headquarters, Eric Barnes, and be like, hey, can I pull down a local version of Laravel News? It hypes him. And then like, this is your app. And then you just sprinkle in wire navigate and that's it. Yeah. Make Jason give you access to it. But this is the perfect candidate is like, oh, is it already implemented? Oh, okay. It's implemented, but check this out. Jason, you need to composer update on Laravel News, because smooth scroll must be on Laravel News. So when you go forth and back and it adjusts the scroll, it uses that smooth scroll. And I just added today instant scrolling between pages, unless smooth scroll is like a perk, but I don't think it is when you're navigating pages. It's kind of a bug, I think. Okay. Thank you, Aaron. You won't let us down. Yes, that's the truth. That's the current version, not Livewire. Oh, what are they using? Not Livewire. What are you people using? Built with. Let's see. If it, like, this will pick up Vue, right? Or React if they're using one of those. But I'm genuinely curious there you go. Vue.js. Oh, and Alpine. Okay. Whose fault is it? But yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right. Well, Livewire fixed it. So, but I guess maybe it's not a bug. I don't know. All right. Check the page source. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Laravel News, for hosting Livewire 3's announcement. By hosting, I mean writing it and publishing it and then keeping it on the front page still. Love to see it. All right. Let's get back to work, folks. Enough messing around. Let's write some tootin' code. Are we in Livewire? Yes. Okay. Let's get pull. Yeah, so I need a way. I'm a bad streamer. When I become a good streamer, all this will be smooth. I just bumped Daniel's live stream. What does that mean? Mark, you may have not been in here when I found out that Daniel's live streaming, and I'm a very bad friend. Sorry about that, Daniel. We're sorry, buddy. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to first, Caleb stole our thunder. Did he say that? Oh my gosh, dude. Oh, I feel so bad. But they're like held up for 3 days working on this. They can stream other times. My work day is going to end, and then I'm gone for 11 days. So there's that. Yes, that's what I was thinking, is we would explore TypeScript today and add, oh, that's so dumb. Sorry that you're experiencing my rage, but my like shortcut key to make my windows perfect just like shoves this into my other monitor, and that's kind of an issue. Hey, here's another fun thing for you guys. They need to get back to work. Stop streaming, stop just attention grabbing, get back to work. Livewire icon is on the terminal. Funny. I guess it's Livewire pink, but that just happens to be that way. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Wanda's? Is that Wanda's? That's an interesting thing that maybe we should just talk about quick. If you have a lazy component, change language mode blade. If you have like a Livewire foo and then you add lazy to it, and then you were to go like Livewire test foo, right? And then like assert C or whatever, it would probably fail because the first render is blank when it's lazy. So I think what I need to do is be like, if is testing disable lazy feature, basically, right? Or is it like assert lazily loaded or something? You probably the simplest thing to do is just to not do lazy stuff at all. Okay, you better be back, Mark. We're timing you, buddy. 3:00, 3:02. Okay. Does anyone know? Yeah. So assert placeholder, right? Like you might want to assert a placeholder. Yeah. That's a little tricky. This is one of those things that's tricky. But I think the thing to do. Oh, I see what you're saying. Again, I'm sorry, I don't. Whoever said that, Mitesh. He was saying that I had the Livewire logo as my instead of a VS Code logo, and that is true. Again, I spent the weekend just customizing everything, and I did do that. So that's fun. Thanks for noticing, because I'm supposed to be screencasting and getting rich, but instead I'm fixing bugs and customizing my desktop. Yeah, so good question about that lazy thing. I don't know what to do. I think we should just avoid any extra stuff and just basically disable lazy when you're testing, and that could be a feature, a pull request or something. But yeah, so what are we here for? Basically, this is what we're here for. If you use wire pull, so you got yourself a div, this is like a Livewire component, and let's say you do wire pull, right? And then in here, whatever, string to time or date, I don't even know if any of these now, okay. And then if you loaded this on the page, it would just like refresh the component every so often. If you have 10 of these on the page, Livewire will batch them together. So it's only one request, but 10 components are making a single update. But sometimes that's not what you want. Sometimes you want it to make 10 different updates for a handful of reasons. Like if you had a 1 second database query in one of these components, like if you had, Livewire show users, and then that had wire pull inside of it, and then you had like 10 of them. Now every pull, it's going to take 10 seconds for all of them to refresh, where you may want a slow one, to be isolated on its own. So I think that this is the API. Do you guys agree? Is this the API? Wire, pull, isolate. I don't know if I have any other ideas. Isolate, isolated, no batch. I really hate multiple word modifiers, so I almost definitely will not go with that sort of thing. But this is the question, is like, what's the API going to be? Yeah, how did I do it? So I'm experimenting with a new plugin I have to add to my course once I verify that it's good. It's brand new. APC Customize UI gives you all the things you need. I've been doing nutso stuff like this full bleedness. I disabled the shadows so that it's crystal clear. Like I'm having a ball with it. Yeah, if you pull with different times right now, they're not corralled. They don't get grouped together. So yeah, like somebody could do that. Like here's the pull source code. The pull source code is pretty interesting. It's like definitely an experimental style of programming that I did here. Very kind of functional and read it like a book kind of thing. But as you'll see, I have this helper called pull that I call and put something that I want to pull inside of it. In this case, trigger a component request. And then this returns all these affordances. Start to start the pull, pause while a condition happens, throttle while a condition happens, and stop when a condition happens. And basically, then I have these like throttle while the tab is in the background and the directive is missing keep alive. Pause while the directive has visible, right? If it's wire pull dot visible or whatever, or the element's not in the viewport. Pause while the directive is off the element or Livewire's offline, and stop when it's disconnected from the element. So this is kind of my way of writing this piece of code. And I think what we would need to do, so let's just add this wire pull isolate feature. Livewire next app. This is just kind of my little toy app. Livewire next app. All right, we'll pull it up here. The windows aren't going to be pretty matchup. They're not going to be like nice, unfortunately. Because again, my keyboard shortcut is a little broken. Okay. Let's go into welcome here. Welcome, and then let's create test polling or something. Artisan make Livewire test polling. We'll make it an inline component. Okay, and then test polling. We'll pull that up over here. And then on this, we'll say wire pull. And then inside here, we'll just say now. And that's going to be it. And then let's load it. And now it should pull and keep the time refreshed as it's doing. And then I think what we want to do is have like 6 of these running at the same time, and then have one of them. I guess they all have to be this way, right? I guess it would be okay. this is like, do you want it to exist here? Or do you want it to be like isolate, you know? Okay, let's test out our our survey feature that we have and we like so much now. Wirepull.self. That's kind of interesting, Guillerme. That's definitely interesting. For sure. Isolate feels right. Hey, Len. That's good to know. Yeah. Mitesh, I can't tell you how I did it because it's really hacky and boring. But if you just go to that plugin, the VS Code plugin page, like it tells you how to do that stuff. Rest should display as it was rendered normal. Okay, what happens now if you have pull with different times? Yeah, when will inline be default? When will inline be the default? I don't think it will be the default because I think I use inline so much because I create so many little throwaway components. But I think in a real app, most people want Wirepull unplugged. That's a really cool name. The only problem is it's not like unplugged, because I would think that you're like unplugging, like maybe conditionally adding unplugged or something. We should use unplugged for a feature 100%. Okay, Len wants both. He wants it here. Let's just do a quick poll to see if we didn't have the option of both. I'm going to say, what do you want? And then it's going to be wirepull.isolate or Livewire foo isolate. And then let's start that poll and just see what people want, because they really do solve two different problems. I could see adding both at some point. Pulled out alone is a bit sad. That's true. It's a good name, but it is definitely sad. Yeah, not actually a good name for this, but cool name nonetheless. Unplugged. 100% Jason Beggs. Jason Beggs, you're so smart. Jason Beggs. Okay, people want wirepull.isolate. That's pretty good. And well, okay, that's like an overwhelming... I guess we're only 13 votes in, but that's... Okay, yeah, you feel like it's a prop. Yeah. I hear you. The benefit of this, though, is if you do this, which you can now do, if you make it a lazy component itself, you can specify isolate on the outside. But then again, if it was lazy in that, you'd probably want to do this. Honestly, people are probably going to eventually want all of these. I'm just trying to figure out what's the most targeted niche thing. And I think wirepull.isolate for now, for what we're exploring. And this is just exploratory. I intend to throw this PR away unless it's really good, but I bet we'll have to rewrite it and think it through a lot better. But this is just kind of an exploration. Yeah, okay. Pull.isolate, it is. I'm ending the poll. Good job. The poll. All right. So... that's that poll. While we're at it, I want to add another poll that's like separate component file and blade view and component in same file, which is basically inline components, but separate file and blade view. I can't type all that, so whatever. I'm just going to explain what this pull is, just because Adrian mentioned it. Like, why not make artisan make the command inline by default? It's like, what do you prefer? How? And mostly it's like, when you're writing in Livewire, do you want to have this class and then a blade view as a separate thing, like render returns a blade view, or do you use inline things or use Volt or something? Like, what do you prefer? Everything in a single file, or one file for your class and one file for your blade view? And I guess I'm more asking, like, most of the time in your apps, what are you using? Mixed in with a little bit of like, what would you prefer to use? So, all right, we'll let that go. And so yeah, vote on that and I'll return to that in a second. So wirepull.isolate, that's our API. Let's make this one polling, but we want a bunch that aren't. So let's just make a new one called test polling isolated. Okay. And then that one we'll put this on. I'll just copy this. Test polling isolated. Isolate. Test polling isolated. Okay. And then we can render these. So let's say, yeah, without isolate, we have, 5 different components polling, and we'll look at our network requests. And one update per. And now if we have isolate, ideally, test polling, isolate. Is that not isolated? Okay. And then ideally we have 2 requests for every poll, which we only have 1 right now. Separate file or volt, not inline regular components. Gotcha, Jason. Inline, no bueno. I could see for a handful of reasons. Len really loves SFC. So yeah, that's good to know. Separate file and blade view, most people say. So yeah, we're not going to make it inline by default just yet because of that. Okay. So let's just explore this a little bit. We'll get our build going. Not in here. Let's go into Livewire source and get a build going. npm run watch. All right. And then in poll, let's detect polling. So we could say let isolated equals, not detect polling, detect isolated. And then directive.modifiers.includes isolated. You're coming in the belly of the beast here, folks. Let's log isolated and reload our page and see that console logged 6 false because I must not have added it back. Did I say isolated? Is this going to be a problem? Is it isolate or isolated? Oh. Poll. All right. Is it wire poll.isolate? Wire poll.isolated. Yeah. That's a tricky one. It's hard to say what my gut was. I think my gut was isolate, but I think you clearly saw me type isolated at least once. Yeah, it's got to be isolate, right? Because it's like an action, it's active, like isolate, you know, it could be its own package. Livewire isolate. Yeah, it seems more like opting into a feature. Yeah, it's defer, not deferred. That's true. Good job, Len. Thank you. It is defer. Yeah, that is true, Adrian, but kind of, that's a gray area for sure. Isolationated. That's actually not bad. Okay, we're going to do isolationated. All right, thanks for polling on that. It's going to be just .isolate. And then we log that and refresh, and now we have 1 is true and the rest are false. So now we have this Boolean isolated, and it's like, what are we going to do with that? Like right here, I feel like we need to just pass isolated into this. Isolated. Let me make sure that polling doesn't like group a bunch of stuff. Okay. All this does is synchronize the interval. So basically, yeah, I created this little synchronized interval feature where if you have wire poll, you know, which is by default, what? 2,000 milliseconds. So it's by default 2 seconds. And if they get added to the page at different offset times, it will corral them all into the same 2-second poll. So yeah, I just need to make sure that's not what we care about. So we have isolated. Let's pass this as an extra parameter to this trigger component request, which is right here. And then inside here, we'll say isolated. And then this is going to be the tough part. What do we do inside here? Because this is a very simple wire colon. Yeah. So I think what we need to do is like, we need to do some stuff. Okay. Put your thinking caps on. This is okay because I can't just pass this through to somewhere. This is how a lot of Livewire actually works. So wire poll, when you do something like, let's say like a lot of times people don't pass anything to wire poll. And in that case, it just internally calls $wire $commit, which is actually a synonym for refresh in Livewire's core. So you're basically just refreshing. But you can also do like load things or whatever, and poll is similar to like wire click when you pass in an action. So you can specify an action and it'll call that action on the poll. And just so you see how it works, literally I just take that word and append it to $wire. Whoops, what happened there? And append it to $wire. So it's like load things. And now it's going to call that method. So that's what I mean when I say like Livewire is just like a thin layer on top of Alpine in a lot of ways. Some ways it's totally not. Silo. Hey, Scott. How's it going, Scott? Silo is pretty cool. Yeah. We're kind of doubled down on isolate right now, but I appreciate the input because I hadn't thought of silo, and that actually is like the perfect word. Yeah. Silo. I do like that. Okay. We can have a debate about that later, but continuing on. So this is the hard part. There's no like API to easily pass like, is isolated. So in these scenarios where I'm calling something here, I'll often do like, let's say enter isolation mode, or I guess it'd be like isolate requests. And then turn that off to like revert whatever we did. So this is welcome to the stream. This is the way I program in JavaScript, and I think it's pretty esoteric, or it's not totally the most common way to program, but it's what's evolved for me over time. So let's check this out. I already know that there's a file called commit, and so to follow the path for you, when $wire gets called, $wire.commit, there's a source file called $wire. Let's find commit. And that just registers this commit and then calls await request commit. So this request commit right here is in this commit file. So I consider every Livewire update a commit. The actual request is a batch of the commits, if that makes sense, because I used to just call it a request in Livewire v2, but now multiple components can be in the same request, so I need a new name for the thing that is a Livewire update. And I used to use the word update, but it actually gets confusing because of all the other uses for the word update. So I use commit because we're kind of committing the state of a Livewire component to the server. Whoa, Hemp, dude, bro. Hemp is in the house. My guy. Crazy. What's up, Hemp? We're JavaScripting. By the way, I get that feature we talked about yesterday. Cache keys working in about 4 lines. Dope. Jason Beggs. That's awesome. Okay, so we followed the path so that you've kind of seen where things get called. But when you call $wire.commit or $wire.anything, when you call a method and trigger that request, it finds its way to request commit. This is kind of the entry point into the belly of the request managing beast. And it is kind of a beast, but I try to make it like okay. So this is the function we care about. And again, we can't just pass another parameter called, isolated and then use that inside here, because we're coming to this point from a very roundabout way. So let's do this. Let's create a little temporary variable called, I guess we'll just call it isolated, set it to false by default, or maybe isolating, maybe. And then we'll export function isolate requests. And then inside here, we'll say isolating is equal to true. But actually, let's get the current state of isolating so that we can return it to its state instead of always return it to false. Yeah, so I guess there's a few things we can do in this scenario. It's like we can start isolating here, do code, and then turn it off. Or the alternative syntax is just pass a callback right here and then put this inside of it here. And I don't know, like, what do you guys prefer? Does anybody have an opinion? Like, would you rather see this code or like do the isolation in 2 different steps? I generally do this, but it does add an extra layer of nesting. It can feel, this is my normal style. It's my style. I have to do this. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. I hope that's okay. So isolate requests. This is our function. We're going to cache the current state of is isolating or is isolating. We're going to set it to true. We passed in a callback. Now we'll call that callback and then we'll set it back. So isolating is equal to whatever value we cached, and then it returns. This is a pattern I use all the time. I should probably extract it into something, but yeah. Okay. So now we have this way to get access to a variable called isolating, which okay, as I'm thinking about it, like we could potentially introduce a bug where code inside of here immediately triggers like a second request, and that gets isolated as well because we're turning it on and off above and below. Where like in a perfect world, we somehow get isolated through all of this code in there, but I think this is good enough. What about adding an options object to the function? We can add an isolate option to that. Okay, so Len, just so you know, what we would have to do, there's actually probably a few ways we could do something like that, but like we can't do it here. You know, we can't just say isolated or whatever, because these APIs are pretty locked down because you could potentially pass in any method to $wire, whatever. So long story short, we kind of need to go around the public API. Views uses a ton of that pattern. Yeah. I guess the reason I say it's a problem is currently it's not like I could see doing that for call where you pass in some method and then some params and then like a third options object where you say isolated true. And maybe we end up doing that. Honestly, that's kind of interesting. Is that the move? Okay, let's just see if we did that. Like what if instead of this we do $wire dot call, and then inside here it's like $wire dot call. I guess it no, I don't want to like mess with too many other things right now, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to stick to this. We'll use isolating, and now we're in the belly of the beast. Now we have to figure out what to do. So there's some stuff going on here. The first, okay, wait until the current request is finished. So basically this method here is like if you hit a button and it takes a while on the server to do something, and you hit that button again or you do something else, it has to kind of queue it up until the current request is finished. So in our case with isolating requests, we still have to wait until the current request is finished. So I think we're good there. What about a different set of commits? Ooh, that's possible, but it could get hairy. But maybe that's the way, honestly. Okay, so now we find or create a commit and we trigger the send. And I think this might be the part where we want to kind of isolate it. So let's just look at find or create commit quick. This creates a new commit. You don't have to really know what that is, but just remember when, every Livewire update is a commit. It's a little object we make. We put it on a queue because they can be queued up because they're batched. And we want to basically, we kind of don't even want it on this queue at all. All right, maybe we do end up creating a commit. We find this is one of those features that could get a little hairy. They're being late. You can start the stream now. Hey, Mitchell. Good to know. Starting stream now. Yeah, this is interesting, I guess, but we got to start with the simplest way. So let's just say we find our commit, right, and then we trigger send. And now this is bundle multiple requests together if they happen within 5 milliseconds of each other. Then send request to server. Let's just see what happens if we do this. If isolating, just send request to server. I guess we want to do this. Send request to server. Trigger send, isolating. Okay. Or that's a global, so we don't have to pass that through. But we should call it isolating by now. Trigger send is isolated. I don't know. And then here we would say like if is isolated, then send the request to the server right away. Otherwise, bundle it up. And let's just see if that works. It might just work. Refresh. Oh, look at network. Okay, isolate requests is not defined. Where is it mad about that? Trigger component request. Inside poll, trigger component requests, isolated, isolate requests. Oh, because we need to like conditionally isolate requests. Isolate requests when. We're getting a little wily here, but isolate requests when, and then we'll put that condition here. And then if not condition, just run the callback. And I guess we'll return, early return callback. Okay. All right. Isolate requests when isolated. I'm sure I'm still going to get some kind of, I don't know. Let's see. Do we have a new problem? Isolate request when is not, I just didn't import it. Okay. All right. Hey, okay. So that worked. It worked. Let's experiment with it a little bit and see if we can find some edge cases. Like, let's say that the isolate, you would generally want to isolate something that takes a long time. So inside boot, I guess we could just put inside render. Let's do sleep 1 second. Okay. And see what that does. I guess I'm kind of looking to see. So I think what's happening is our requests are still being held up. You know? So like we're kind of achieving what we want, but not perfectly well. Yeah, you know? And let's kind of dig into why that's happening. So let's look back into isolating, and then is isolated, and then trigger send, isolating. And here's that kind of part, because we're like queuing up the commits, right? We create a commit, we put it onto the queue, and we're holding up requests. I can't figure it out. Let's just bundle multiple requests together if they happen in 5 milliseconds of each other. Request buffer timeout. This is just a 5 millisecond little timeout. Oh, right. The bundling is kind of happening. Right. Send request to server still kind of has, it's just offsetting it by like 5 milliseconds, I think, or something. Hey, Dan. We're trying to isolate wire pull requests. But it's I mean, it's a deep thing. It's kind of how I pictured it being. This is like, you know, the engine of Livewire's request handling, and it's not simple. Yeah. Okay. So we hit send request server. We prepare the commit payload. What did I just say? Prepare the commit payloads. Queue the new request attempt while we finish. Yeah. So this is like pause other requests while this is finished. And we kind of need to not queue them. You know? That's the problem. Is that what isolating is? Is just not queuing request attempts. That might be what it is, folks. We don't want to queue request attempts. So if it's sending request, we await the callback, and then we do this. And if something else, so sending request is here, wait until request is finished. Remind me where we use that. In commit, we do it with request commit here. So it's almost like we need to do if isolating here. Then we'll just kind of do our own thing and we'll return out of here, I guess. Let's just try this. Let's just kind of pull it out of that, out of this wait until request is finished. We're still going to create the commit. We're going to trigger the send right away. And maybe we don't even need to, yeah, okay, we're going to leave everything else the same and we're going to see if this works. if it's isolating. Okay. All right, we refresh the page. We're polling. It still waits a full second. Is anybody tracking any of this? Does anybody understand the problem and see it and I don't? Like that should have worked, right? When we request the commit, we check if we are isolating, we create a commit, and then we trigger the send with isolating so it happens right away. And then when these other ones get hit that aren't isolating, then they wait until, that's the problem, is it's still calling that, like it's still holding everything up, you know? Like we go inside trigger send, it sends the request to server, but basically we don't even care about that. It sends the request to server. We're prop drilling, we're drilling. Send request to server is isolated. And if it is isolated, we don't want to hold up other request attempts. So we kind of want to bypass this whole bit here. And in that case, let's just do the worst thing we can possibly do and say if is isolated and just copy all of this. All of it. Yep. All of it. Copy it. Paste it with a return. Yeah. Welcome to the jungle. So, did it work? It works. That worked. That's what we want. We don't want to hold up other requests. Okay. Yep. We got the feature working, which is good. So let's at least say that. MVP implementation. Because I'm going to use that message later. JK. Okay. Then I guess we kind of want to look at if all of the implementation is a mistake in some way. So let's kind of start with the most outside in. We get if it's isolated, and then when we trigger the component request, in fact, I guess we can even just do it here. We could say like isolate requests when isolated. And then inside here, I don't know why I'm using a full function. What's wrong with me? What, have you been using PHP? All right. Isolate request when is isolated, and just trigger component request. So we can kind of cut that out of here and just move it up one a little bit closer to where it originates. Okay. And that's good. We get isolated, pass it in as this little condition. I think this is fine. Although, all right, we're already passing it here. Like, I guess we might as well, I don't know, whatever. That's what we're doing. Okay. So isolate request when isolated, and then trigger component request, and it's inside of the isolate request when. So let's go into commit, isolate request when. We're setting this thing here. We might as well just make is isolated. I just want to make a little getter because I'm defining this down here, but I'm using this like above it, and I just think it'll be a little weird. So is isolating or something? I don't know. Yeah, and then we'll just return isolating. Probably should have just called it isolated, right? Like, sure. Okay, isolated. So we have that. We have all this. We have our function is isolated. And so this is kind of walled off to like handle any of the request isolations. And let's pull that out and put it somewhere else, like request call, wait until current request is finished. This is where we're doing some of that work. Queue new request attempts while, yeah, like this could be something. I don't know where to put it all. So we're going to put it at the end. And I guess let's just start removing stuff and seeing if it still works. Are you late? Erkin, you are just on time. All right. And then kind of going up to the top, we trigger a send. And well, I guess we want to follow code. So let's go back to our wire pull. This is the polling directive. We know we want to isolate it. We know it's .isolate. We say isolate request when trigger component request. So when we drill down a trigger component request, this eventually calls this, which calls request commit. So request commit is our entry point into this commit.js file. We request commit. I think we can get rid of, like, let's just see what happens if I do this. Let's just get rid of that whole chunk and then refresh and give it a look-see. Isolating is not defined. Oh, isolating is not defined. And this is when, yeah. Right, okay. Isolating, we called it, we're changing this to is isolated. And that's just a local function. So let's try that. Don't worry, we've been waiting for you. That's right. Okay, now we can start the stream. Isolating is not defined. Do I use it somewhere else? I don't. Oh, we're probably not building for some reason because I have a bad import. Isolate requests when, and is that it, right? Isolate requests when no matching export. Isolate. Oh, what happened? I thought I put this all at the bottom of the file. I probably put it at a different file. Is it at the bottom of request? It is. What was I thinking? Oh, because that oh my gosh, folks. We're in two different files. Is anybody else confused? Let's remove isolating from this file altogether. Isolating is isolated. We're just going to remove it all. Is isolated. Okay. So we shouldn't even see the word isolate in this commit file, which is good. This is actually a helpful thing. Yeah. Single file frameworks. Oh, dude, I wish. All right, let's refresh and see if truly we have broken everything. We are kind of getting somewhere, but it's a complex enough thing to warrant some of this pain. Oh my gosh, this is frustrating. Where is isolating? Oh, because I'm not building, because I stopped building, because I broke everything, and it still broke. And I need to go into wire pull and make this from request. And then let's try building. Okay, we're building, folks. Don't worry. Okay, we refreshed, we look at the updates, and we're back to something weird. Weird. These are all taking a second. We're only pulling isolated for some reason. Like, it's not even pulling the rest. But at least we know we can stay in one file, this isolate requests. Okay, request trigger send is isolating. We check for that. And then, yeah, I wanted to kind of back that out. And then whoops, what am I doing? Is isolated. Send request to server. This is the kind of important one. So let's change this to is isolated. We're going to get there, and it's going to simplify it, and everyone's going to be so happy. And let's try this and see if this all works. Like, this means we've kind of landed on a simple implementation. But, oh, that's really weird. Like, we've broken things, folks. Oh, because there's a few different moving parts here. This is the part of the stream where I go, nobody is following this because I'm not following it. And everybody's going to leave. But then I go, if you always think that way, you're never going to finish anything on the stream. And then you're going to end the stream, and you're not going to finish it on your own time. That's the reality. So protest in the chat if you want me to work on something else and I'm wasting your time. Otherwise, we press on. So we set is isolated. We have this thing and we have this function. We can just wall this off basically from our brains and get back to only worrying about a few things. Like, let's look at when the actual request is sent inside this file, which I've basically doubled in size. This method, send request to server. We go to send the request. If it's isolated, we just send it. Otherwise, we queue new request attempts while it's going right. So we don't want to queue new request attempts. We want to just let them fly. But we're also queue new request attempts, sending request. This is the problem because wait until the current request is finished. I don't know. I'm thoroughly confused. Thoroughly confused. Too confused to even think straight about this on the stream. So let's just say, I guess we did have a commit that worked. So we'll just say whip, and then I'll publish this. Somebody else can take it over if they want. Oh, is this on main? I thought I made a separate branch. Did I make a separate branch in the wrong repo? That's not even with Git. All right. Well, we didn't push the past two, I don't think. So these past two, Origin has never seen these. So I could, how do I do this? I could, these two commits we just made. And then on main, we are going to reset to this point. So actually, you guys tell me how to do that. Is it like, so this would, do I need to reset hard or for, so let's say head -2. Is this dangerous? Okay, now head is back at origin, which is where we want it. And then let's do this. Okay, so we're back and we have our separate branch. Add wire pull isolate. We'll publish this branch and we'll open a new pull request. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Add wire pull isolate. Okay. Whip or draft. I guess we make this a draft. I've never made a draft because I'm an animal. Okay, folks, that's good. We have a start, at least, you know, not pretty, but we have a start. So we've at least explored a little bit of the complexity involved. We've gotten the feature to work. So the goal has been accomplished, but I know there's a simpler way. I added too many conditionals around that page, and that's no bueno. So I honestly, the answer is like me or somebody else sitting down and drawing like a map, like on my desk of like how commits and requests are batched. Because there's a few batches going, like there's a commit batch. So if you have multiple updates to the same component within like a refresh or two of the page, like within a tick or two, those get batched and bundled. So there's that batch and bundler, and then requests themselves get batched together. And then when a request is out, there's so many like basically queues, and there's so many queues involved with this one system. It is definitely complex, and I am somewhat, scared of like introducing something like this, but I think it's worth it. And you saw the implementation won't be too bad. It'll probably be a few conditionals smattered around this request file, and everything else should just fall in line. But yeah, okay. So that's kind of that feature. What time are we at? 3:30. I think that's a good time. So we can just hang out for a minute before we close out the stream, but I wanted to stream a little bit at least today because I'm not going to do it next week or on Friday, and streams are fun. But yeah, hit me up if you guys, is there anything else you want me to look at? Any questions you have, whatever, or we can just, get back to our work days. Yeah, I mean, there's I guess there's another thing that I wanted to look at. This wire navigate on first page load problem. Take me back to the chat. Chat me. Is there even chat going on? Is anybody with me? Is anybody breathing out there? Yeah, this is another thing. You all have me on in the background because I didn't follow any of that, and you definitely didn't follow any of that. Not because you're dumber, but kinda. Because you didn't write the code. All right, whatever. You guys are gone. I'm just going to say bye, and then we're going to close this, and we'll talk in a couple weeks. Thanks for hanging out, and have a great weekend here. See ya. Oh, is my chat disconnected somehow? Like, I'm still streaming, right? I wonder if... Oh, that's so funny. My chat was freaking frozen. I'm like, okay, literally nobody is paying attention. And then I went to type goodbye and it was like, error. Refresh your chat. That's so funny. Did you guys have like a viewer with me with the Git stuff? It was silent over here. Oh my gosh. For a long time. Wow. Crazy. You guys had contributions I was completely missing. I'm just like, okay, nobody gives a crap about this. Oh, Benjamin, that's so funny. All right, well, we breathed a little bit of new life into the stream, so maybe we'll hang out for another minute. Poll independent. Your only shipping requests in your isolate. Okay, Len even knew the problem, and I'm sitting here with, my finger up my nose, and then you're telling me how to do all the Git stuff. So funny. It's an easy fix. You move a function call. Oh, and Len's like, dude, it's an easy fix. You're missing it. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Change from top chat to live chat. I'm an idiot. And then everybody's like, what, are you leaving because I said goodbye? All right, well, Len, you got the fix? Let's show me the fix. New stream in a nutshell. That is so offensive, High Sky. I am a seasoned streamer. I have been streaming for years. I just do 1 a year to 2 a year. Okay. Well, we're back, folks. Let's at least try to make what Len said should work. Yeah, we're still in the branch. All right, Len, tell me, brother, is isolated. We are calling this inside of send request to server. You got to actually tell me though exactly what to do. Like I'm a complete dummy. It's an easy fix kill. Len, one word. You typed your own name. You moved a function call instead of copying it into your isolate when function. Oh. There's this. Isolate when. Isolated. Trigger component requests. I am still confused. Isolate when condition callback. If not condition, return callback right away. Otherwise, isolate and then callback. And is isolated only changes this one bit right here. Repeat that function call outside the... I don't understand. Is isolate when... No, I think you're wrong, Len. You could be right, but I'm passing in a Boolean to either isolate or not isolate, but it'll call this callback either way, Yeah, it's definitely ignoring all other polls, but I don't think it's because of that. Unless I'm completely missing something. So this is isolate requests when. We pass a condition and then a callback. This is a condition. This is the callback. If the condition is false, then we return the callback and run it, Otherwise, we still call it. So the condition gets called on both paths. It's definitely more complex. Hey, we are making waves, folks. Jason Beggs coming through. I don't think Len has the answer, unfortunately, folks. I was very hopeful. We were all very hopeful. Yeah, it's a deeper thing. It's deeper. The problem is, all right, well, let's just see if we can give it a minute or two and solve the problem. So trigger send is what happens. That's what kind of like takes whatever's in the queue and flushes it. Yep. And if trigger send is called like 100 times within 5 milliseconds, this thing just corrals them together. So we don't care about this. Then send request to server. Does that get called anywhere else? Or trigger send is just a little extra wrapper? So send request to server is the thing. So when you are calling this, it kind of just gets to send request to server. Right? Yeah. It gets to send request to server. We check for is isolated and we bypass this. Like this whole bit is just bypassing this. So let's see what happens normally. A normal commit calls send request to server, right? That's what it does. And then when send request to server is called, queue new attempts while. And this sets sending request to true, runs the code, then sets it to false, and then basically just goes through an after send stack thing. So this is like sets is sending to true. After sending sets is sending to false and flushes is sending queue, you know, like that kind of thing. So that's the mechanism that we're bypassing. So we have, when we're doing, this is isolated. Wire commit, send request to server. We don't do this, and we don't do this. But maybe, what is happening? Why are the other polls not happening? You know? Let's say before isolate, after isolate, and then load the page. Huh. Yeah, I could just reset it back, honestly. That might be the answer. So let's see. We have before isolate, after isolate. We're never hitting the is isolated. Right? If is isolated, we're never hitting it at all. So do I have it like completely backwards? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. If is isolated, and that's right here, and this just returns that, and this just gets returned from that, and this, let's just put this here and call this and see. This should get called a bunch. So true, and then 5 falses, you know? So the first one's true, and that one, right, like comes here, like I'm isolated, I'm islated. And let's just see it say that. So isolated, I'm isolated. Yeah, so that works. And let me just make sure by doing that, whatever. But yeah, is isolated, return isolated. And we're doing that right here. So log is isolated, and then is isolated. And then let's just collapse this and clean up our console logs a little bit. Okay. I'm calling a function. Did I do that somewhere? No, I'm calling that as function. Okay. Is isolated false? Yeah, crazy. This thing's okay. So it's upstream. This is only getting called when is isolated is false. So that's good to know that it's upstream. Let's check this out. Check me out. And let's see how many times this gets called. Check me out. Check me out. So that's right on. But now if we put it inside bundle multiple requests, remember that thing I said doesn't matter? I think it actually matters. That's our problem. This is our problem. Bundle multiple requests together if they happen within 5 milliseconds of each other. Yeah. So this is basically taking this and only allowing it to run once and also putting it around a timeout. So this is where we need to say if is isolated, then send the request immediately. Else bundle. And it's probably the combination of these two that makes it all work. Let's see. What am I doing? So that is it. That is the bit. Prop drilling. Can we prop drill? Yeah, we can prop drill here. Okay. Maybe you're saying that. We can at least do that. Like, yeah, we could do this. Just so it's like more discoverable at least. And then inside send request to server, we have this. And this is where we would kind of bypass queue new request attempts while. And there's a few different ways we could do this, but let's do this. We have this whole async function. Not like amazing. Yeah. I like the single line if statements and I like returning right in them, but then I have to, then I'm like actually returning something, which just feels a little weird sometimes. But all right, let's see. I think you should probably over there. I'm a bit worried about the global state. Are you sure there can't be race conditions? I do this kind of global state thing a lot. I can't fully prop drill, Mark, because in wire, like where, you know, when you're in Livewire and you have wire poll, it basically turns into an Alpine evaluation. It sends it through like a whole new code path in a way that I suppose I could rework this to directly prop drill. And that would be definitely the smartest thing to do. But it's the smartest thing to do because it very directly targets a specific request instead of setting up the global state and then something in here triggers something else and then that state is already set. But I use it a lot. I use that pattern a lot for things that are, you know, related but not by code, and it has served me fairly well. Put 3 seconds in the render. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we should toy with it just a little more. But I hear you. The prop drilling is the way. I just feel not like. Let me just see what call is like. Component.wire method. Yeah, even here. Not great. But I must have just a call, right? No? It's just a thing, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We're making too many changes. So So this is it, right? Like, let's just do this just to test, remove the other part. And let's see if what happens here. Yeah, so this is the part where it makes everything hang up because I'm setting sending request and then pushing everything away. Where this is like, we need to isolate on both ends, basically. Like, for isolated, when you say like, we don't want isolated requests to hold up any other requests, normal or isolated themselves. That's this isolated, and then the other one is we don't want to bundle isolated request triggers with any other ones. That's kind of what we're looking to do. So that's actually it. That's the feature. Let's toy with it a little more and see if we might be able to just merge it, honestly. Like, this might be a feature, folks. Yeah. Okay, now, all right, let's do 3. I mean, we can make this poll 3 seconds just to verify if that's what you're saying. I'm interested in a few other scenarios, but yeah, if the poll's 3 seconds, it's happening, at the same time. If test polling, the other one, has a sleep of 5 seconds, like, let's just make sure that this thing will poll. You know what? I mean, maybe we have a sleep of 15 seconds, or I don't know. It's going to work. The whole page now, oh my gosh, this page is never going to load because this is sleeping 5 times this many. So 5 times 5 seconds, 25 seconds to load this page. Yeah. What did I do? Did I reload it again or something? Okay, so it loaded. That one happened in 3 seconds. This one's going to take 25 seconds. So that's a thing. And hopefully this one does another poll in the meantime. That will be telling, if it waits. Right. Okay, this might be a bug. Is that this poll that is held up for 3 seconds. So let's create this environment here. Yeah. All right, let's say test polling. Yeah, I guess we want to just put it on a different poll interval, maybe? I don't know. Let's do this. Let's say sleep 1 second, okay? So this is going to sleep a total of 5 seconds for this request. And now isolated. Let's do 2 seconds. Isolated, we want, I'm putting the sleep and hydrate so it doesn't interfere with the initial page load. This isolated one is going to be, we basically don't care about it sleeping at all, but let's do 1 second. I'm on the wrong component. Am I? No, you're lying. You're a liar. All right, we load the page. This one goes out, comes back in 1 second. This one is held up for 10 seconds, and it's holding up this poll, which is a problem that we have to solve. Then it came back. Now one of these is just going to go back again. And we're in a dicey situation, folks. This is a dicey situation. I do not use Copilot. I found it a little too noisy for me. When can we have wiretap? I got so much stuff to do first, unfortunately. Only isolated components should have the sleep. Nah, I mean, when we did that, it worked. I'm trying to create a scenario where it doesn't work, right? So, yeah, that's my goal right now. Let me put this back on the other window so that I can actually view it. Will this implementation also ensure that an isolated directive will not run when it's not in the viewport? Yeah. Yes, it will. It's pretty unopinionated when it comes to that part. Yeah. All right, let's look at wire pull. And the problem here now, just to kind of describe the problem, is like we have two, I don't know, whatever, 3 components pulling. One is isolated, A. The rest are not, B, C, okay? Components A, B, C all send, I'll just group these like this. A and B, C all send at first. If the BC request takes too long, the component A's polling is held up. So we could say, I want to see if it's trying to pull at least inside here. Trying to pull, and then I guess we could do like, yeah, just something like that. All right, so check this out. Refresh this. And now in 2 seconds, it started pulling. This came back. And I want to see, is it continuing to try to pull? And, oh, this is interesting. Let's take a look. So 6 components are trying to pull. Another 6 are trying to pull. Another 6, another 6. And do we have 6 components? We have 6 on the page. They're all trying to pull every 6 seconds. But if the request is still out, that's kind of another question entirely. Am I just finding a different bug? Or you might not call it even a bug. When it's the last one in the list, yeah, good question. Let's see. Let's see if that affects its ability to retry. So just to be clear, oh, what's happening? Strange things are happening. Strange things are happening. It's spawning lots of new requests. Let's just make sure our whole like send request to server, prepare commit payloads, queue new attempts. Send request to server. I think this bit is tripping us up. Like we need to bundle this. Oh my gosh, this is too much. Too much. What the heck? If isolated, await callback. I have no idea what's going on with that. That's weird. Yeah, the isolated set on the last component. And the problem now is if this one takes a long time, it just keeps, let's take the sleep away for a second. And now that the isolated ones, so that's proper. Okay. Still proper. So that's all good. Problem we're experiencing is if the non-isolated one takes too long, the isolated one will trigger the non-isolated one for some reason. that I can't figure out. And what happens in commit prepare? I don't know. Support prop, support wire modeling. Yeah, folks, I'm a little stumped by this. So this is the scenario again. 3 components pulling. One is A, the rest are B and C. Components A, B, C, all send it first. If it takes too long, component A's pulling is held up. Alternatively, you have 3 components pulling. One is isolated C and the rest are not A and B. I know it's a weird way of writing it, but components C and A, B A, B, and C all send it first. Components A, B, and C all send it first. If A, B's request takes too long, component C's, no, if component A, B's request takes too long, component C spawns an entirely new request for A, B, while the other one is held up. And the reason that's weird to me, isolated case, isolated last are all isolated case, isolated first, none is isolated. Oh, maybe isolated case, isolated last are all isolated, case isolated first, none is isolated. I'm not sure I'm totally following, but so I'm just going to keep going with this, but this is weird behavior because a request, like it's got to be something in here where we have sending request is equal to false. Wait until the current request is finished. And where am I using that? That's probably something. I don't know. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Moving parts. Moving parts. Queue new request attempts while. This should... So if something else set this to true, I have no idea, folks. I'm stumped. Oh, I'm stumped. Austin Cameron, welcome to the stream. You're coming at a bad time, bro. Bad time. I'm completely confused. Yeah, let's push this up and explain a little bit in the PR. There's like 2 problem scenarios now. So this like kind of works. Problem scenarios: if a batched request fires simultaneously with a non-batched with an isolated one, and the batched request takes a long time, long enough for the isolated request to attempt a pull again. Here are the scenarios, and let's just turn these into, whoops, I guess. A little bit of markdown. That's the way we do it. Okay. Oh. All right. Well, just as we got started, because Austin showed up we're going to end it. Austin, you did miss the very funny part where I was just as slightly less confused, slightly more confused earlier. And nobody was helping me out in the chat at all. And I'm like, everybody's like gone by now. Even though I can see there's people watching, it's like nobody was helping me. And so I was like, well, I guess let's just pack up the chat. Nobody cares. And nobody said anything. And I was about to close the chat. And then I realized my chat window was broken. So yeah. All right, folks. Well, thank you for hanging out. We did get somewhere. This is available. If anybody wants to pull it down, just pull this pull request down on your computer, do some tinkering. It'd be really cool for somebody to take it the rest of the way because I'm going to be out of town for 11 days and I won't be able to. So you'll be a folk hero. Yes. Have a nice day, Austin. Have a nice day, everybody. If it'll be so complex, I think you should use simple, long, and ugly way for a solution. I think you can create a new function and use old version of pull. Unfortunately, Erkin, that is not as simple. That's almost impossible because it's a completely different system entirely. But I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Livewire forever. All right, folks. I'm going to close it out. See ya for real this time. Thanks for hanging. I'm going to be back not next week, but the week after, and we will stream more. Good times. Bye, all. Thank you, everybody, for pitching in. Bye, son. Bison. OBS. Where's OBS?